or if you're in the shade, or if you're in the pool, or if you're anywhere, you literally feel like you're melting nonstop.
Yeah.
Too hot.
I'll stick with the
You don't know anything about the heat, do you?
No, I don't, honestly.
It's like opposite of the world for you, right?
Yeah.
You wake up in the morning and have to grab a sweatshirt probably every day, even in the summer.
It's pretty nice.
That's the perfect weather.
That's the perfect weather.
Well, I mean, it's
and it's just a snow dog.
I mean,
and
it's
being a
it's
snowmobiler too.
Yeah.
But that's funny, like, because in the summer, my daughter, she loves going to the river and all this. I'm like, I hate the river. I hate being cold. And we do not have warm water anywhere. So, and she's like, "You're a snowmobiler, Dad." I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm warm snowmobiling. I'm not
I got good gear.
Yeah, I got good gear.
Yeah.
I'm not freezing."
Yeah. I hate the water.
I love the water.
Do you really?
Oh, I love
I
the
hate
water.
it.
I don't like it.
I don't remember the last time I've been swimming.
I love the water.
Hate it.
Fantastic.
You like the ocean?
Love the ocean.
I hate the ocean.
Just spent 3 days in the
It's
ocean.
terrifying, man.
It is terrifying, but I do love the water.
You can't see in
No.
there. Yeah.
First time you get hit with that undercurrent, it's the worst.
There was a pretty gnarly one.
Really?
Too, yeah.
It gets worse sometimes?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No,
Depending
that's
on the
not
tides.
cool. I don't like that.
I was proud of your little rescue mission you guys did.
Yeah, it was my son found that seagull. I don't know if you saw him on Instagram.
This is a cool story.
Turtle found a seagull?
Yeah, so I come home from the gym. It's what we do down there. My parents have a house, so it's a normal thing for us, right? Like we spend a lot of time down there. So the typical day is when I come home from the gym, I'll take the kids and we'll go walk on the beach, and I'll take them down to this playground on the beach with swing sets and all this stuff. So I get home, we start walking down the beach, and that's when my wife has some, quote unquote personal time away from the kids. She gave me my time, so now it's her time. Even though we have an 8-month-old, but he is sleeping, so we're good there. Knock on wood. So we start walking down to the playground, and as we're 3/4 of the way there, my son is like yelling, "Dad, Dad," and he's pointing. And I walk over there, and he's standing like right on top of a seagull, and the seagull's not moving. So I'm like, "Oh, he's."
Did you
sick.
think he caught it?
No, I just told him at first.
Chased it down.
At first, I was just like,
that'd be
"Don't
my first thought with
touch
my
it."
youngest.
A disgusting California seagull. Like, don't touch it, And my kid, obviously, he finally did listen to me, which was good. So he didn't touch it. But he started walking like right on top of it to get face to face with it. And then it popped up and started walking. I saw it had a broken wing. Its right wing was all messed up. So my son was like, "What are we going to do?" And then it runs out into the waves, and it just is getting destroyed in the waves, like tumbled and this way. And then these dogs came after it. So I was trying to tell my son, I'm like, "Listen, the hawk has to eat too, right? Like it's just this the way it goes. The hawk has to eat too." Well, then my sister gets involved. And my sister's like, "We got to save it. We have to save it, right? We can't let this thing, the dogs are going to eat it." And then my son gets with my sister. I'm like, "All right, change the lesson here. So it's no longer the hawk's got to eat you. Now it's hunters have to care for other animals, right? Like we got to do our part. We can't just kill them. We got to help them too."
CPR bound.
So we wrapped him up in a t-shirt and ran him to
You caught him? You were able to catch him?
Oh, he wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
He
was exhausted.
Wow.
Like he must have been chased by the dogs all morning or something by the time we got there. Because when he was in the water, he was just getting absolutely destroyed. The waves were pretty big too, so he's just getting slammed in the waves. Right? It's all shore break waves. That actually was pretty sad to watch that.
Yeah.
Because he can't get out of it with a broken wing. So, anyways, changed the lesson. And he's like, "I want to save it." And I'm like, "Okay, we'll take it to the fire department." So we took it up to the fire department and had, what's it called?
What's their reaction?
The California has like the rescue, like those, they do seals and seagulls.
Okay.
They're the animal people over there, So called in, put it in a box and sent it. And my son was all jacked about it. So I'm like, well, now the hawk's hungry. So we got to watch him eat the next one now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was pretty fun. It was an eventful morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot of walking.
Saved a seagull.
Saved a seagull.
Way to go, Turtle.
Thanks.
I'm proud of you.
That's awesome. I wanted to know what the reaction was. The fireman when oh, really?
Really?
Yeah. Suckers got some long necks and beaks, man. They can get you from a ways away.
Now what do you have? Something?
Rabies,
Something you can't wash off?
probably.
Avian flu.
Avian flu.
Avian
Yeah.
flu.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if I get sick, you guys know why now.
Right before hunting season, great. A wide berth around the window.
We got a guest today. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you popping in. We got Chris Burandt. One thing I was driving down today, you got kids, you brought your kids with you?
Yep.
So like when somebody asks your kids at school, like, "Hey, what does your dad do for a living?" What do they tell them?
I don't know what they would say. I don't know. I think he rides snowmobiles or something.
Yeah,
maybe.
and they're like,
Just rides them. That's
just
it.
just rides them. Yeah.
He doesn't have a job, just rides them.
He just rides. Yeah, actually, that's a really good question. I'd love to be like a fly on the wall when someone asks.
yeah.
Yeah.
I asked the question.
And I think it would be different. I think my daughter, would probably be good and nail that, and then my son would be like, he does backflips or something. I'm like, son, I don't do backflips anymore. Well, you did.
You did. Yeah.
He got every year like, Dad, are you going to do the backflip again this year? I'm like, son, I don't have to do those anymore. I'm very thankful I don't have to do those anymore.
That's pretty sweet when you did it, though.
It was.
That was freaking awesome, man. Yeah.
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 I only ask the question because that's what happens in my house. Is somebody will ask my kid, "What does your dad do for a living?" And they're like, "I don't know. He hunts a lot, but
I think it's for work.
I think he hunts for work. He's not like a professional hunter, but he does hunt a lot. But they don't really know how to explain it. So I was curious as to how
Do you want to hear how we explain you?
Yeah, I think.
The Michael Jordan of snowmobiles. That's what we say.
Yep.
See, that's pretty awesome. That's really awesome.
That's
and,
what we say.
And I'll be honest, man, like to hear that, I just, I go back full circle and I think, when I was 10 or 12 or whatever it was, and my grandma asks me, because that genre was all about like, what are you going to be when you grow up? Like, that's just what we ask our kids, right? But grandma's asking, and I told her I wanted to be a professional snowmobiler, and she kind of like laughs at me and says, "Oh, that's cute, but what do you really want to be?" Well, I want to be a snowmobiler. No, you want to be a firefighter or a pilot or all the stuff like back in the day. But and that's just so to hear that from you guys is really humbling. But in the end, I think that's why I truly enjoy it. Like I'm a dude like all my guys who come and ride with me. I'm a guy who is passionate about snowmobiling, and that's how I look at myself. I mean, it's not like Michael Jordan thought of himself as the greatest ever. He just said,
just kept going.
I'm just going to work hard and I'm going to like enjoy my craft. And that's like kind of the principle or the theory. And
it shows through to your passion for it. Like no joke. If you guys follow him on social media too?
Yeah,
It shows through. It's
and
wild.
I watched some films prior to
Which
today.
one?
Today.
The old Sledneck films?
Yeah, I
Or
watched some of those. Yeah, I watched.
Oh man, that was a different time.
I grew up on those.
Yeah.
Those were awesome.
And when you talk about passion, and it is no different than watching you guys. And so, and this is what's going to be fun about this conversation, in my opinion. You guys are watching a passionate snowmobiler do, doing what I do, but your guys' passion for the hunting industry is no different. And it's you're not thinking you're doing anything. You're just doing what is in your heart. Right. And that passion that's something like as business owners, you cannot fake. You just can't fake. And either you have it or you don't. And I think that's the biggest thing is like, I was snowmobiling in June with my wife shaking her head like, why are you going today? I'm like, because it's going to be good. And I like snowmobiling and I get to go without having to like have to go. I'm going because I want to go.
Yeah.
Right. And
I completely agree. You can't fake it.
No.
That passion stuff, you cannot fake it.
Yeah.
Like if I was selling socks, you know what I mean? What am I going to do selling socks?
I don't know. I love socks.
I like a good pair of socks. Sometimes even love a good pair of socks. But am I passionate enough to just every part
Make
of
your
my
own socks?
day is about socks?
No, probably
But
not.
what's crazy about that is there are people who are passionate about something that like
obscure like that.
Yes, socks
Oh,
are
for
their
sure.
world and they enjoy it and they want to see someone enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the same thing. It's like, that's just, I was born with it. That's what the big man had for me, and like
I would say you're one of the rare ones though to say at 12 years old what you want to be when you grow up and actually
do
did
it.
Do you think is that when? Like 12?
Yeah, it was right around there. But I knew when I first got on a snowmobile at the age of 6. So I was the one who, for those first few times, like I didn't want to ride it by myself. I'm going to ride with Dad, and I'll never forget like the coolest story ever. Right. So this was a couple years. So sorry. rewind real quick just to kind of give everybody.
We got all the time in
No,
the
you're
world.
great. Yeah.
I'll give everybody just a quick history. I grew up in Denver. I was a city kid. So no exposure to mountains, snowmobiling, hunting, nothing like that. And then
What did your dad do?
my dad owned his own mechanic shop. So
Okay.
like two bay, worked at the same place his entire life. Actually was business partners with my mom's dad. So that's how he met my mom, and, you know, hiding under cars because she would come in, you know. and
Gotcha.
I love it.
So cool stories that way. But my dad's dad, so my grandfather, he owned a cabin up outside of Kremling. So the tie to how I got involved with the mountains and Kremling and snowmobiling, hunting, all was from my grandfather's cabin and us being able to go up there a couple times a year to get exposed to, you know, something besides the city. And so I knew right away, I'm like, I don't like that, but I really like this, like being the freedom of, and back then, you know, no maps, GPSs, no nothing, right? Like I truly miss it, right? Of like being able, and I could not believe, like, I don't know if I could let my parents or let my kids do like what my grandpa would do. Like, yeah, just go up there. There's some elk on the other side of that. You'll probably find them, but try not to get lost, and we'll see you tonight, hopefully. Right?
Yeah, that was.
Like you think about that, but as you know, as a teenager, you know, I'm kind of fast forwarding through a bunch of stuff, but as a teenager, like bombing around in the woods, I mean, that was everything. And so go back to the story of how I knew snowmobiling was for me was, so again, never wanted to ride by myself. I'd ride with my dad, and then, you know, so I'd be in the front with dad, he's driving, and then, you know, there was this one time, and it was a couple years after I first got exposed to the sport. He's like, here, you take the controls and I'll be right here. And so I'm driving by myself, and, you know, we're going, and I'm starting to get the hang of it, and you know, enjoying it. And I look back to my dad, and I'm like, all right, Dad, which way should we go? And he wasn't there. He literally slid off, like, intentionally, and
Love
then
it.
walked back to the
Just let
cabin.
you ride.
That's a good dad.
And just let you go.
But that was like, hey, Dad, which way should we? And I just got the biggest smile on my face because, you know, he's like, you're ready,
Yeah.
you know, to go. And I mean, it was game over after that, man. It was just awesome.
How often were you going? Was it just like weekend
Yeah, it
trips?
was a couple times
and
a
there?
year.
That's it.
Right. And so, like, that's what I mean. At school, it was borderline obsessive, right? Like the snowmobile magazines on your binder and drawing the map of the roads on, like, stuff, because, like, that's all, I mean, it's all I thought about and all I wanted to do. And what was crazy is, like, back then, none of my friends or anyone in school, like, they didn't know what snowmobiling was or could relate. So I was kind of like just in my own little world there, you know, and all I could think about was, you know, going, you know, we'd always do between Christmas and New Year's, like that was the big trip. And then we'd
Gotcha.
get maybe one in the spring or something. So we didn't get to go a ton, but we got to go enough where it definitely made the passion alive for sure.
What was it? I'm curious, like, what was it about it? Like, what did you vibe with? Like, what is it about snowmobiling that you picked up on at 12 or 14 that you were like, this is the feeling I'm chasing? Like, what is that feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I would say there was a couple things. I think probably the biggest one was like trying to control a motor. And so having that man versus machine mentality. I mean, you hear that like with anything racing or dirt bikes but that mentality of it's amazing how, like, when I get on a horse, the horse knows it's going to have a heyday with me. And it's because I have zero control of the horse, but but when I get on a sled, I'm telling it what it's going to do instead of the sled telling me what it's going to do.
Not same there.
And so I enjoyed that aspect, but more importantly, I think I could not believe where you could go and it's endless, like the possibilities. And that's what's been so fun to watch, the evolution of our sport of snowmobiling is to see where it has come and evolved. And I was so lucky to be at that forefront of it from the machines evolving, and when the machines evolved, then the technique evolved. And, you know, I was just right in there at my prime of evolving all of that to come in. So like, and here's the beauty of it and how it all ties into hunting and everything. You know, the best place ever to ride the current sleds that we have, like for me, like what I like to ride, is a dark timber north facing slope. I'm basically chasing an elk around is what I'm doing, right?
He's not, for the people.
I'm not, but in my mind, I don't know how many times I've like flipped over upside down and I'm like kind of laughing at myself, and I look over and there's an elk rub right there, right? Yeah. And it's just, it's so cool. And when you think about what an elk does, it gets from point A to point B in this crazy gnarly terrain using the path of least resistance, right? It never goes straight up the hill. Very rarely. It's always taking like shelves, this quick little steep run, and then it's on a natural bench and shelf. That's where they like, it's so cool to like manipulate the mountain the same way a freaking bull elk does. I'm not kidding you. It's very close. It's I will say it's 100% added to how I can find animals when I'm hunting.
So you think there is a correlation then?
Without question. I mean, it's. So do you guys want to go snowmobiling? Yeah. Did I sell it yet?
I've never been on a snowmobile.
Yeah.
It's so wild where you're from.
Yeah, I've never skied. I've never been on a snowmobile.
Well,
I hate the ocean.
And that's
I'm a party.
You're a hunter.
I'm a party.
Hunter. Yeah.
But yeah, I've never been on one, but I knew you were going to be on today. So yesterday, sorry, I was just at home watching.
I love it.
But yeah, watching, your videos and stuff. But to me, it's like you hear people talk about surfing, right? People that love surfing. They talk about like the connection with the ocean and the feel of the board and the water and just like the environment. And like, as I was watching yesterday, just, it looks so free flowing. Like you're just flowing through the snow. I mean, you're switching back and forth the sides, distributing your weight, and like just, it looks so effortless. I'm sure it's not, but it looks so effortless.
Yeah. Before Chris jumps in here, I am a snowmobiler. Grew up snowmobiling. It is not that effortless.
I'm certain that it's not.
It's definitely not that effortless.
It's just like
makes it look like
it's
that.
like anything that somebody does at the best level in the world. They make it look so effortless. And I was watching, I was like, man, it just looks like so much fun. And like I could see that connection. It just seems so, I don't know, it looks so free. It just looks fun, man. I gotta try it at some point.
That is what I love about it, though, is the freeing nature of it. Like, you literally can't, even somebody who's below average probably at riding, but has done it enough, you can get yourself in some incredible places because of those machines.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's amazingly freeing to be able to go anywhere. Like, nothing's out of reach for you.
And that's what I want to jump on real quick is like, have you ever found hunting spots and like gone back later on based on what you found snowmobiling? Like, oh, I went up in this basin, looks like I could glass here. Like talking about north facing slopes, elk rub, like we always talk about boots on the ground is in the summer. Yeah. That's when you do summer scouting, but you could technically scout in the winter on a sled if you wanted to, but obviously it's covered in snow. You can't see everything, but
it correlates so well. And you'll run into spots where, and like we don't get in my riding zone, like we get average snowfall. So like it's not so tall where I can't see, like I'm not kidding you. I see elk rubs all the time, and I mark them on my phone. That's easy, right?
Sure.
I mean, we're riding 30 to 35 miles of technical terrain. Like I'm not trying to see how many miles I can get in a day. We're going up and down the steep north facing slopes, right? So like to find those types of areas where I'm like, I didn't think elk would be in here, but this is like, I mean, and you'll get into those spots where it'll be like a rub fest. So they were summered here, they were like getting ready for the rut in here, and it's just like, I'll remember this one.
Yeah, mark it.
Sounds like a way more fun version of shed hunting. Way more fun version.
Yeah.
Instead of doing the adult Easter egg hunting like Omar.
I bet you could pick some sheds up.
I could do this for winter.
I know you
scouting
can.
for
I know
sure.
guys that do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was curious. So you said 14, now you kind of like thought that's what you wanted to do. And you said your grandma was like, sure, great. Yeah, do that. I'm curious, it's because kids have things that they say, right? Like I have kids at home and you have 2 kids out here. You know, when they spitball you with that idea, like how do you approach that? Because obviously you became a professional snowboarder.
Yeah, I did. And I guess, here's what I realized. So from growing up, we didn't have any money, right? My dad was like working his own business. My mom was like a subscription agent for like a big magazine company for college. So we made ends meet essentially, right? And then the snowmobiles that our family was buying was like the $500 ones that were like, I mean, hopefully we could get them out and get them started and ride around a little bit and then come home. And so I knew right away if I wanted to be in this sport, I needed to make money for me. And so that was my motivation for everything. So it was like, God, I prayed that it would snow in Denver so I could go shovel sidewalks and make a little money there. And I mowed grass in the summer, of course. And then at 15, so this was really cool. We had a Polaris dealership and motorcycle dealership just right up the road from our house. And I'll never forget, I was 15 and I was there every day, like stealing brochures and like looking at the sleds and and I'll never forget. And I'm actually still really good buddies with him. The store manager there, and at that time they were really small and then they ended up being huge, but he's like, he comes over to me and I'm like looking at a brochure and he said, hey, I'm like, oh no, I'm like,
he's gonna kick you out.
Yeah, he's gonna kick me out.
No loitering.
If you keep coming back here, I'm gonna put you to work. And so it went from like a little like I got nervous to I'm like, well, I'll see you tomorrow then. And gave me my first job at 15, like stocking oil at the parts counter. You know what? It was pretty minimal, but making $4.25 an hour. But the best part was, I got cost plus 10 on parts. So I never received a check ever. It just went to of course. I'll never forget my dad had the home video at the snowmobile show of, I had the phone number written down of a snowmobile that was $1,000 and I'm showing it to the camera. I'm going to buy this. I worked at the bowling alley at night after school. I worked at the dealership during the day. I graduated my senior year a half semester early so I could go to work. I mean, I enjoyed the reward of working your butt off at a very early age to achieve a goal. And like my parents co-signed on a snowmobile when I was 15 before I got a car. Do you
remember how much you paid for it?
It was $3,000.
$3,000.
What was it? What was
it? Was a 1990 Indy 500, and I still have it.
Huh.
That's so cool.
I still have it.
Brand new?
Awesome.
No.
Used.
Negative. It was used.
Yeah, those sleds are so sweet. I asked my dad recently if they still had the XLT that we used to run, and we had a Super Sport. We still have that one. That one runs.
Sweet.
It's pretty baller back in Minnesota still, but
yeah, I have gotten a little bit in trouble for because back then you couldn't obviously keep snowmobiles. I had to sell and upgrade and everything. And so now I'm in the position to like buy some of these old sleds that mean so much to me.
Yeah, I've been seeing that, like modding them back up.
Oh man, I'm in trouble at home. Yeah. I'm in trouble.
Most people do like vintage cars and stuff.
Yeah, I got vintage snowmobiles. Yeah, but they're pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That must have felt pretty incredible as like a 15-year-old kid that loves snowmobiling to get a job at a snowmobile shop.
Yeah, it was. And what's so funny about that too, I worked there for probably, and it's actually how I met my wife too, which was pretty neat. She came in there and I was like, dang. And so I worked there for at least 3 years. And I was the snowmobile salesman too. They called me Snow Whiz. So on the intercom, Snow Whiz, sled sales on line 1, and so I was the one like doing that side of things.
Snow Whiz.
It's that passion thing. When you feel it that deeply, you know absolutely everything about it.
Yeah.
Which I guarantee you at 15, you probably just had.
It's all I did.
You lived and breathed it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So at that time, you got your own snowmobile. Are you getting out every weekend then at that point in the winter?
Yeah. So like at 16, I mean, that's, it blows me away. This day and age, kids don't get their license till like they're 17, 18. Yeah. I mean, they just like,
Yeah, my kids.
I mean, I was like, the day I turned 16, I'm getting a driver's license because that means I can start going snowmobiling like by myself. And so, yeah, I mean, in 97, the year I graduated, the snowmobile I had, I put like 2,500 miles, which mountain miles, that's a lot of miles on. And I rode from like Vail Pass as soon as they had enough snow to ride in like late October till I think I rode July 4th that year. I mean, it was my dream, You
going out alone or you got buddies?
I'd go out alone. I was so dumb, man.
Your parents just turn you loose and let you go?
They had no control over me at that time. I'd go with buddies, but a lot of the time, my rule was just make sure you don't go far enough that you can't walk back. And I'm a pretty healthy dude. I could walk a long way. So
yeah,
man, I don't know, post holing on a North Facing slope. I've done that.
Yeah,
yeah, that ain't fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of high school, though, I don't know if you guys had this, but back in Minnesota, you're talking about being able to drive and everything. It's Minnesota, obviously, back in the day, it snowed a lot.
Yeah. And you'd ride your sled to school?
Yeah, we could get a snowmobile safety certificate thing, and I could get that before I got my driver's license. We would drive our sleds to school and then go rip around afterwards. And that was just the funnest thing I thought, is riding my sled to school, parking with all the cool kids, and bringing your helmet inside and all that stuff. I don't know if they still do that back in Minnesota, but that's what we did when I went to high school.
I don't know if they do, but I had an employee that was from Minnesota, and he said the same thing.
Yeah, it was the funnest thing ever.
That was the coolest thing ever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we never had that in Denver.
Yeah, riding back from basketball practice in the dark in the sled, and going there the next morning.
Would be really fun.
That would be fun.
That'd be super
cool. It was a good time.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Just his childhood memory too. That'd be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. At what point did it kind of take off for you, where you were like, I've got something going here, that you felt that you could do something different with it, or bigger, better?
Yeah.
How does that
was
progress?
a while. It took a long while, and there wasn't an industry for it,
Sure.
at that, especially at that time. Okay. So fast forward. So 16, I'm getting a sled just to go play ride. 18, I'm looking at that okay, how do I go to the next step? Who in our industry who is making a name for themselves snowmobiling? And
Are you pushing it at that level, 16 to 18? I felt like
fear doing stupid things.
I bet you're getting after it.
Yeah, 100%. But there was a balance, right? I didn't you couldn't break it because I didn't have money. It's I couldn't, and if I did break it, I had to fix it myself, which that was pretty enjoyable looking back at it now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Learning how to work on the machines, replace parts, all of that. But at the time, there is no freestyle, there's no free riding, there's no any of that. The only way, the notoriety of our sport was racing, snowcross racing. You look back at Blair Morgan and Tucker Hibbert, some big names in our industry. And so I'm well, I guess I have to go be a racer to get a name. And that was dismal. I wasn't a very good racer, but I actually enjoyed. I loved jumping from when I was a kid. 16, 18, just hucking myself on these things that did not belong in the air. And then that translated into snowcross racing, which those sleds were made a little bit more for pounding and jumping versus a mountain sled, which the mountain sleds weren't even mountain sleds back then. But I traveled all around trying to do racing and was pretty poor at that, but enjoyed the jumping part, which again, we're fast forwarding through a lot of things, but okay, here comes Travis Pastrana and X Games and all of this. And it really, from a transition side of things and just the timing of everything, then we were kind of riding the coattails of the motocross guys and doing snowmobile freestyle in conjunction. So that kind of my passion, of course, was being in the mountains and mountain riding, but there was zero industry, no getting paid to be a guide to take people out snowmobiling and showing how cool backcountry riding is. Not until 2005. So at the time I was riding for Arctic Cat, and they came out with a new platform, a new sled that really changed riding forever. And at the time I was trying to do freestyle. Let's see, in 05, what was I doing job wise? Right. So I was, okay. So this was a transition, like 03, 04, I was actually splicing fiber optics. That was my job, which was really, I kind of enjoyed it. We hit like 42 states in 1 year. So getting paid to travel, making good money, buying snowmobiles, trucks, like, you know, all that type
Trucks,
of stuff.
trailers, and snowmobiles.
So broke, right? Living off of credit cards. But I could take a lot of time off in the winter and go ride. And I'm trying to do this freestyle thing because the racing thing wasn't working. So like all of this was kind of mixed in. And then, so the freestyle thing is happening. Arctic Cat comes out with this new snowmobile. I have my foot in the door a little bit with Arctic Cat from a freestyle standpoint. And so they come to me and say, hey, we got this new sled. First, tell us what you think about it. And I got to go on some really cool, like early development trips with the chassis. And, you know, I'm like, I've never been able to do something like this. So it's like, it reinvented the sport for me. And then thousands of people from then to now.
Yeah, that's the M series.
Exactly.
Yeah, the M7.
Yeah,
Of
the
M
M7,
series. Yeah.
05 M7. So okay, so here I am, young kid. They give me a truck, a trailer, credit card.
Oh man.
And just say, hey, go take the season and go show people how cool this sled is. And so all of these things start jumping into my head at this point. Like, holy cow, this sport is like changing, evolving, and I'm really loving it. The second thing though was, as I was going to these dealerships and riding with these people and seeing their reaction to this new style and me teaching them and showing them, you know, and them like just falling in love with the sport again. Cause to be honest, it got pretty stale. Right. It was like the same sled. You go to the same hill, you do the big high mark, and no tree riding at this time. Right.
Yeah.
None of that. It was just kind of getting a little boring. And so between the chassis and the new riding technique side, it changed the sport forever. And so to see like people's enjoyment and refueling the passion, right? I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, dude, I might be able to like get paid for this, right? That's what's in my head. And so freestyle is, so like in that time frame from like 03 to 06, I'm doing freestyle as like part-time, but I'm getting to travel to super cool places like Russia and Sweden and do these freestyle shows, and I'm getting paid to snowmobile, but barely.
Are you married at the time?
Let's see. I got married in 04. 04.
You can recall all the snowmobiles and all the stuff.
I know. I had to think of what year sled I was riding there. No, actually, my 20th anniversary is this year, so it's pretty easy to remember.
Yeah.
So yeah. Actually, in a couple weeks, I should probably plan something.
There you
go. Write that down. I love you, honey.
Put something in the calendar.
But yeah, so I got married in 04. So yeah, all
that going on.
Yeah, my wife Sandy she traveled with. She raced snowcross too. She was like better than me. And so she was a snowmobiler, hunter, and all.
Match made in heaven there.
So how'd you plan out then when to do the wedding then? Is it correlate during the winter? Is it correlate?
Midsummer.
Gotta be in the summer, right?
July
Yeah,
wedding.
gotta be in the summer.
Yeah. We'll talk. Yeah, the summer. It's got to be. Can't
do
do
the fall.
hunting and
Conflicts with any of
snowmobiling.
that.
Yeah. So she's able to travel around with me.
Yeah.
She was still splicing fiber and doing that, but I'm like, I'm gonna go. I gotta keep pursuing, and doing it. So with the freestyle deal, I could back then, and we all know like it's pretty mundane now, but backflips were kind of a big deal at the forefront of everything. Pastrana and Carey Hart and all those guys. So snowmobile backflips started happening, and I had tried my first one in like 2004 or 5 out in the backcountry, and it didn't go super well. Wrecked my sled. I didn't wreck me, but you know, it was in a Sled Next video of me just yard sailing somewhere. There was quite a few yard sales back then, but so I could go to these contests and I could podium and or win if like, you know, my main competition who had the backflip in their bag of tricks would screw up. Right. So like, and at the time I was okay with that. I'm like, I'm still competitive, but that backflip just scared me. It terrified me, to be honest. It went against everything that I knew. Like, you know, you go off a ramp and if you're nose high, you hit the brake and you land and don't die. Right. With a backflip, it's like, you have to just, oh God, it was so mental. It was
The
so
commitment and the difference too, like back then when you're thinking about it, the amount of weight of a sled compared to a motorcycle.
It was a couch.
It is
How much does one weigh? Like how much?
wildly
I mean,
different.
just
Back then,
we
it was-
used 500 pounds like that. They were a 500 pound object instead of 250 pound dirt bike,
Yeah.
right? But we got the call in 07 to the X Games said, all right, snowmobile guys, it's your turn. You're up. We're gonna do our first ever freestyle snowmobile
That was the first one ever.
at X Games, and so. You know, it was one of those just defining moments in life where, you know, I'm like, this is what all of us, the community, the freestyle community, this is what we've been working towards. You know, we were a sideshow at the X Games one time, no TV time, but, you know, it was our time. And I'm like, this is what I've been like dreaming of since I was a kid, to like, to make it and be a professional and everything. And so I'm like, I have to go learn the backflip. And it's one thing to go say it, another thing to go do it. And so, you know, and the road to learning that was terrible. I mean, nothing was working out. I remember like 3 weeks prior to X Games, I drove all the way out to Wisconsin because one of my buddies had invested like in his setup and he had a foam pit. And
You did.
but because prior to that, there was no foam pits. I mean, it was like, go huck yourself and just try not to.
Hope
Yeah, I
for
was
the
gonna
best.
say every time
terrible.
every time you decide to throw that, it's like
It's a full commit.
yeah.
Yeah. So he had a foam pit. So like in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is what I have to do. And I remember like trying to get there. The roads were crap. We go there. There's no snow. We're on like frozen mud. The ramp setup's a little ghetto. The foam pit's even terrifying looking at, you know? And so I remember I straight aired into it the first time. I'm like, okay, I'm still alive. The next one, I'm like, I got to commit to this and like totally like land upside down on myself. And I'm like, if that would have been on snow, I would have been
you're
dead.
Yeah. That practice one.
The
done.
next one, I'm like, okay, I probably wouldn't have died. And then I get one more where it was like somewhat okay. And then I ran out of time and had to like go home.
This is 3 weeks before.
Yeah. So
Oh, man.
I drive all the way back home and we're practicing. A buddy had a facility that he kind of set up. Sled Next was all involved. We had a snowcat ramp. Like it was a really cool setup to get practice for X Games. So now we're like 2 weeks leading up to X Games. I still have not done a flip to snow. You know, and there's other guys there doing them, trying them, wrecking. Like it was such a mental headspace at that time.
sure.
And I was so frustrated with myself. You know, I'd like come around the ramp or come around the take it off and like look at the ramp and come into the ramp. And I'm just like, F this, dude.
Yeah.
I can't do it. And I'm just,
It'd be scary if you're not in the right mental state to hit the ramp.
oh, I was so far from being in the right headspace to go do. And that like, you know, that's the difference, right? There's huckers, right? That'll just be like, F it, I'm going to do it. And they just yard sale everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And I was a pretty calculated person.
Cerebral. Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't want to get hurt. And I have skills and talents, but I'm not going to be dumb. And so, but it's getting to be crunch time and everything, you know? And so a filmer for Sled Next at the time, I had worked with him forever. He's seen me do many gnarly things in the backcountry, jump over houses and like big cliff drops and all these things, right? And and I had just like come around I'm like, okay. He's like, everyone's trying to pump you up, and I'd come around and I'm like head in my, just can't do it. I'm just mentally, I'm done. I don't want to do it. And he comes over to me. He's like, hey, Brent. He's like, dude, you and I, we've been like through everything together. And you and I have watched other riders when we're out in the backcountry, like as we're watching them hit something, you have that feeling of like, that person should not be doing that right now, right? Like that, he is not prepared for that. He shouldn't be doing that. And he basically said, I don't have that feeling with you. I think you're going to nail it. And it was just one of those things where like I could relate to the conversation. I'm like, yeah, I've been definitely sketched out watching somebody else saying, what are you doing? Right. Yeah. But he comes up to me in that moment and just puts my head in that spot where like, so someone believes in me. Someone knows I have the skill to do it. And, so then I stuck the very first one that I tried. Way. And it was like such a weird feeling coming around like, okay, I didn't stop. I guess I'm still going and we're going to do this. Yeah. And just, and really stuck the first one. And it was crazy. That confidence after doing something like that. And we're given all of these choices in life every single day of the easy way or the hard way. And that's what's been so enjoyable about this entire journey is to get to a certain level. Like, let's just say, I love that I'm pretty proficient on a snowmobile. But it didn't come by just
happenstance.
Yeah. I mean, I worked my butt off. I rode a lot. I've gotten served a bunch. I've wrecked a lot of stuff, but no matter what happens, if you push yourself, whether you succeed or fail, you're going to learn. Mm-hmm. And it's all about being in that headspace of taking on the challenge, not riding over your head, but taking on the challenge. And every time that you, like I said, succeed or lose, you learn something and that confidence goes up. And so like, talk about a big one, right? Like I kind of, this is kind of the slope of life, right? And it's kind of mellow. And then you have these big hits and then you'll have a down, and learning the backflip was a big up. And it gave me, I just knew going into X Games, I'm going to win, right? Yeah. Like I have this trick that no one has seen me do. And I was a threat to win prior to that. And now, I'm going to win X Games, right? But the motivation at that time to win X Games wasn't to like just go win X Games. I needed money. Yeah. I needed money to start the backcountry business that, back in 2005, I'm like, man, I think people would come and pay to ride with me maybe, right. To learn how to do all this. But, Sandy and I are living in Kremlin in this like small house, our first house we ever bought, but
added motivation then.
Yeah,
there was a whole other bigger plan in place.
Way bigger plan. There was no longevity to doing backflips. No, zero. I did it just to go to that next step.
Did you have to set your sled up any different? Did you like tinker with your sled to get it right to pull off the backflip?
Yeah, so there was definitely a different setup, and that was a little interesting. So again, my passion of mountain riding and everything, that sled is completely different than what a snowcross / jump sled would be. And so, and the snowcross sled, you wanted it to be stable and not wheelie. A freestyle sled was basically you'll cut the limiter strap off so it lifts the skis. And so when it would go off the ramp, you're basically wheeling off the ramp and moving your head back. And
what's like throttle control and speed when you're doing a backflip?
So, and these are all awesome questions.
Something I've always wanted to ask every time I've watched a backflip. It's like, how?
Yeah, pardon our questions. We'll get to hunting eventually.
We will. And
we like the stuff we don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So, You know, the first backflip, it's just like, oh my God, eyes closed. You're not sure like what the pull's supposed to feel like. You've seen in all the videos, everyone's wide open on the throttle. So it helps the gyro of the tracker wheel would bring you around. So like the first one, it's just like, I mean, I was like, so exaggerated, looking back and wide open, just like, please let me see the ground at some point, right? And then what was so
That'd be
awesome?
Terrifying.
It was
I mean, as you describe it, I'm terrified. This is us. I mean, a backflip on a trampoline is like
it's enough.
Nope.
It's enough. Yeah. But that's what's pretty crazy is like, so after I had done that. So I'd done a lot of them prior to, that 2 week in X Games. And so what happens is just like anything is you get comfortable and you start learning. And so what was really cool is, and this is so, not many people can relate to this conversation, right? So like when at certain times I would go off the ramp and be like, oh, that was a good pull. I can let off super early. Or I pulled late. I'm going to have to really pull this one around and hold that throttle all the way. Like you could feel all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And talk about, and again, like when it slows down. Like the trick would slow down. You could understand what was happening instead of just being scared to death and just praying that it works. So for that, I could put my mindset into so many other disciplines. What Jordan feels like when he that flick, right? Or a NASCAR driver. Like I look at what those guys do right now. I'm a big NASCAR fan. I don't know how the whole field can run around 1.5 miles and be within 1/10 of a second of each other. 1/10 of a second, right? They're trying to gain 2/10 on someone. How does that even make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool, but those guys have the same type of feel, right? It's like, it's throttle control and steering and eyes forward and all the things that, are in my world too. So I think that's what's like, I'm not a superhuman person. It's like, we're all the same, but it's just to be able to feel those types of senses was really pretty neat. Sled control, and then just the most important thing was, and it wasn't just about snowmobiling, it was gaining confidence in doing something that for so many years I told myself, there's no way in hell that you can do that. No way. And then you do it. Yeah. And then it's just like, dude, I can do anything. Yeah. I mean, it made things in life, like from a business standpoint, like work. I mean, once you do something that seems undoable, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that had to have been the takeoff. I mean, being the one guy to land backflip at the X Games first time.
And what it was, so like, it wasn't. I was so I'll tell you
in competition though.
Correct. So here's what it was. I wasn't the first one to do a backflip. I wasn't the first one in competition to do a backflip, but I was the first one to win X Games gold at X Games. However, in the event, there was a big separator. Okay, in the event, there was this 100-foot step down, which was so gnarly. Like the course was insane, which lended itself kind of. I really liked it because it wasn't just hitting ramps. It was like, you had to be a very well-rounded snowmobiler, very technical, snow jumps, ramp hits. But this one particular jump was this crazy, like, elevated in run, a ramp to the freaking moon, and then a landing way the hell down here. So as you're coming in, like, you can't see, you see the lights of Aspen, right? That's all you see is just this wall that you're going to hit. So the ramp, they were like 10 feet tall, 12 feet tall. But then but with it being a step down and a gap, the ground is down here, the landing's up here, and the takeoff's up here. So at your tallest moment, you're 80 feet in the air, I mean, to like a death square edge right here. I mean, it was, I'll never forget. So when they set up the course before anyone got to go on the course, I was good buddies with the event organizer and who was responsible for doing the course and everything. And we all get there to the course and we're looking at the step down and be like, are we supposed to hit that? You know, like it was giant. And so Joe, the event organizer, was like, hey, Brent, you want to shake down the course for me? I'm like, fuck yeah. Heck yeah. I'm in. Because I'm like, I want to be out on the course first. I want to do a backflip in front of everybody.
Yeah, set the stage.
Yeah, I want to set the stage.
Yeah, let people know.
And so like the competitors were out there. One of my buddies who had been through a lot with me in the freestyle thing, he's looking at this jump and he knows jumps. Of course, he's like, dude, I don't know, Brant. What do you think about like just to hit it regular, right?
Just to clear it.
I'm like, I got it. I'm not scared. And the first time I hit it, dude, and it's so hard to like judge how fast you got to go. So they ended up changing it after practice because I'm like, guys, I don't know. I mean, I'm here and I'm alive, but it's gonna be tough for guys to like do tricks and not just be scared out of their mind, because I hit it and I'm like looking down, like, oh my goodness, I'm way up here, trying to spot the landing because you can't see the landing, you know. And
Holy shit!
and, I mean, it's giant, right? And I hit it 2 times, and I'm like, guys, it'd be sweet if that like the takeoff was down just a little bit. And so they ended up like moving the ramp, like taking the whole in run and lowering it 4 or 5 feet or something. I mean, it's snow, so we can do it. But you know, just that, like, yeah, I'm in, dude. I'll go hit everything first. So
80 feet is so terrifying.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's hard to fathom.
I can't even put that.
It just keeps resonating in my mind. I can't imagine being on a sled that high and just like looking over, like you're saying, there's the ground down there.
Way down there. It's all masked with snow. You can't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gnarly.
So then, again, like lots of moments happening throughout there. But one of my competitors that, like, throughout this whole freestyle thing, kind of the top dude, his name's Heath Frisbee. I gave him mad props. He was just really good. He was like the top dude, but I could get him sometimes because he couldn't put a run together. A little bit of a head case. I love you, Heath. And he would laugh hearing me say that. And I relied on him screwing up to win, right? And so fate would have it. So I qualify number 1. I didn't backflip like the big 100-foot step down. I did like in my run, my qualifying run, I did this big, it's really cool. You take off and then you let go of the snowmobile completely and you're floating.
What do you call that?
Well,
do you have a name for it?
Yeah, there's a couple names for it, but you know, some people would call it a nothing. Some people called it a holy man. That's what I referred to it as, was the holy man. So basically letting go, grabbing onto your seat, and then pulling yourself back in. And it's such a cool feeling.
Oh, it's gotta be wild.
Cool, terrifying. I missed the grab once in Russia.
No way.
Missed, and then you see me swimming, and then I freaking turf it I made it to the landing, luckily. And but you know, so anyway, so I'm number 1 qualifier. Again, like, confidence out of this world, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, my sled is awesome, the course is sweet, everything. I'm number 1 qualifier. Sure enough, Heath has a kind of a screw up run, but qualifies 4th. So it's 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3 for the gold medal, for the medal rounds. And so I'm like, of course I'd get against Heath, right? And so Heath goes first in his run. I'm banking on another, like, you know, big tricks and then maybe a straight air or a repeat trick or something like that. Heath lays down the run of his life, right? And I mean, as he's exiting the track, I mean, like, the crowd is going crazy. His whole posse, they're like already like celebrating that they're going to the gold medal round, right? And I just, like, you know, I'm kind of shaking my head, and I go up, give him a high five, and he doesn't even really like acknowledge that I'm there, right? He's so pumped that he put a good run together. But right there in my head, I'm like, you know, I think I could flip the big one, you know. And it was, again, one of those moments in life, right? Like so I had the commentators, the TV guys, they're down in the pits prior to the runs. So Brent, what do you think about flipping that big one? And I was just honest. I'm like, you know what? I think if I had to, I could. But I'm not going to put myself at risk if I didn't need to. Like if Heath did a half-assed run, I wouldn't have had to, right? And so fate had it. Heath put his shit together and put a good run together. And so I just told myself, I'm like, okay, don't freak yourself out. Just go do your run. And the big dog was the last hit. And I'm like, if you nail your run, then go hit it, go flip it. And so, I go in, I do my run, everything's like the way it should be. And I'll never forget this. I mean, I'm reliving it as I'm talking to you guys. I land, I get to the berm, I turn on the berm and I kind of like shake my head, adjust my helmet. I'm like, all right, let's go flip it. And just come in slow, a little slower than what you would normally hit it with. And then right at the last minute, pin it, accelerate and flip it. And so.
What's your frame of mind? Yeah, what's your frame of mind on that?
Dude. That's awesome.
Are you like?
I remember watching that so vividly.
Yeah.
I was in college watching it.
I remember watching all of it.
Yeah.
Are you? I mean, are you going through that in your mind as you're going? Like, what's your process?
So I'll tell you what I did. In practice, prior to qualifying, I did like 1 or 2 practice, like come in slow and pin it, so I could in my head figure out, okay, that felt pretty good. Like all I would need to do is just commit to the flip. And I know if I'm coming in slow and I pin it here, I'm going to land at the landing. And so I had done just a couple straight airs to mentally prepare myself to know the speed instead of just going cold turkey. So I came in and I knew, like, I know what I need to do and just lean back. Are you
visualizing it or anything, or are you just going for it?
You just do it.
It's like muscle memory.
Yeah.
Memory. Yeah. You're just going for it.
And it was so awesome, man. Like, so, I'm so high up in the air. And that was the other reason too. I'm like, man, it's because here's what was crazy about like the backflip jump ramps were really steep. So honestly, like when you go up, as long as you commit back, there was a good chance it was going to rotate. This jump was not that jump at all. It was a lot flatter to get distance versus height. Okay, but the jump was so gnarly and big. I'm like, I think I would still have enough air time to do it. But it was kind of like a backflip this way instead of a backflip that way. So that's where it was a little scary, is like going a long ways doing the flip. But as I'm upside down, and it's so cool to watch the frame by frame of it. You can see my eyes just lock onto that landing. I'm like, oh, sweet. I'm going to make it. I'm going to live.
That thought process? Not for me.
And so I land, big fist pump. And what was, Heath and his family were all jump up and down. And then it went to like,
oh man.
No. So, and I advanced to the gold medal round. And what was crazy. So now it's 1 versus 2. This crazy freaking dude from Norway, Alexander. So he was a wild card. I mean, just a wild man. His runs, his tricks were all over the place. He would flatland some, he'd nail some, and so I was like, man, I've got Alexander covered. I've got big tricks. He was flipping some snow hits, but I had better tricks. So he goes first, and that freaking crazy sucker, he goes and flips the big one too. Freaking
just throws.
So then I'm like, shit.
Now what do I do?
Gotta do it again.
Now I got to do it again.
Yeah.
and looking back now, and I was so proud of him. Like another dude who just said, I'm stepping up.
Yeah.
This is my time.
Yeah.
This is my only opportunity to potentially win, and I'm going to go flip it. Burandt did it. I can do it. And he did it. that was so cool. And it made me like sack up again. And do it, you know, and so I did my run. My run was flawless. I, you know, did the big trick at another big flip at the end and freaking rode home.
All you guys, the first time the X Games doing snowmobiles, like everyone stepped up. Everyone stepped up.
It was a magical show.
I remember that vividly, putting snowmobiles on the map, like hugely putting snowmobiles on the map.
Yeah.
Like, because I grew up snowmobiling in southern Utah with my family. And I remember when the M series came out, my whole family went nuts and we all bought them. And that's what we were riding up in the mountains in like Panguitch Lake area, all that gnarly stuff back there. And that was a changing moment. But that X Games was like, that was when it put everything on the map for the names, like all your guys' names and the snowmobiles themselves. That was huge.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And, you know, to be like prime time, like you watch X Games now and the prime time is like the half pipe with whoever, right? And at that time it was Shaun White. But, you know, we had the limelight, right?
Yeah.
And it was Sunday night X Games to finish off the show, us snowmobilers. And what a freaking...
And first time for 99% of people even seeing what these things were.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Yeah, I remember being like, oh, they can do a backflip on a snowmobile?
One thing I thought was
Not by choice.
How's that possible?
One thing I thought was interesting, because you sent me some of that footage I was reviewing over the weekend. Like when you were doing that practice run like weeks before the X Games, I swear there was an archery deer target right in front of the ramp.
There was my buddy.
I noticed that right away. He's jumping over an archery deer target.
Well, the landing was the backstop for the archery target. Yeah, my buddy
That
was
was hilarious.
big
Like
archer.
deer targets all covered in snow. And I'm like, that's a deer. I know it is. I'm gonna bring that up.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the sled necks videos and stuff though.
Yeah.
So were you guys, I want to know the genesis of that. You guys put that on your own backs to try and create, you guys were trying to make something to make it worse snowmobiling?
Yeah.
Was that the mindset?
Yeah. So that's a pretty awesome story. And again, kind of coincides with how all X Games happened. And then, you know, after X Games for me, there was another life-changing moment that involved sled necks as well. But so Sled Necks was a snowmobile like video series. And so how it actually happened was guys were, a gentleman by the name of Jason Moriarty from California. Actually, he was living in Jackson Hole at the time, but from California, all this. So he was actually going out and filming some snowboard buddies, but they were using snowmobiles to access the backcountry. And it was kind of this like transition from, hey, we're going out snowboarding to like, let's hit this jump real quick on the sled. And then then they're like starting to get gnarly on the snowmobiles and jumping. And so then it went from filming snowboarding stuff, because everybody was doing that, to like, well, let's film these like sled neck dudes. Right. And so I'll never forget watching on VHS Sled Necks 1 and 2. Like, and me just, I mean, you know, I carried them around in the Safeway plastic bag, like everywhere I went to go watch them at buddy's house or whatever. Like that was my Bible at the time. And so I wanted to be a part of the sled neck deal so bad. And so, this was at the time where I was like, I got to be a racer, right? This was all the way back then. So I go to West Yellowstone for an event to go race snowcross. Again, I may or may not have made the main and semi-pro, just terrible, right? Like, but they had the first ever West Yellowstone freestyle event, which was literally like a mound of snow to kind of land on and a ramp and like a 40-foot. I mean, it was so ghetto, but at the time I was like, look at these crazy suckers jumping off of this ramp. Right. And so I enter there and you had to do 3 tricks, and I have like a Superman and a little throw your legs out to the side. Like I had 2 tricks. That's about all I had at the time. And, you know, on the third one, I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. And I'm like, but man, I do love jumping. I'm like, what can I do to like get some attention? And so, you know, again, it's this little tiny gap. And I'm like, dude, I'm just going to go freaking send it. And so I remember like, you know, we had this little turnaround that we'd go and hit the ramp, and I started off and like, Idaho back here and just hold the sled wide open, jump the berm, and then hit that ramp. And I completely cleared the landing. My hood blows off
to the flat.
bend my running boards. The crowd goes wild, and I end up getting like third place or something because of it. But the moral of that story was, the guys from Slednex comes up afterwards and like, "Whoa, dude, easy. You're going to kill yourself. What's your name?" I'm like, "I'm Chris Burandt. You should come ride with us tomorrow. We're going to film for Slednex." I'm like,
Okay. Yeah.
okay. So that was my first introduction into Slednex, and I just, I loved everything about it. It was guys like pushing the sport of snowmobiling, and so from Slednex 3 till, I don't know, I filmed with them for, I can't even remember, 12, 13 years, and did all these man, dude. And that's what was so fun, scary, painful about filming with Slednex is, you're not going out there and just riding. You're going out there to push
the limit,
push the limits, right? And, I was joking about jumping over houses. I literally jumped over a house, because we thought it would be kind of cool and it'd be a good idea. And so, just some wild times, man. Just doing dumb things.
Yeah, I remember I grew up on those Sledneck videos, me and my cousin Heath, just because we were, subpar riders and watching people do really cool stuff.
Yeah.
But I took a lot of inspiration from that for our hunt films, like surf videos, Slednecks, all that stuff. And looking back on it, like when we were doing films around here and all that stuff, snowmobiling, it's really hard to explain to somebody what a snowmobile is or what you do back there and all that, because very few people, can make it back there. And a lot of people don't even know what the hell a snowmobile is. So to show people what is capable on a snowmobile and how good people are on them, like it really started to gain attention that people wanted to ride snowmobiles, right?
Yeah.
And I think those surf videos kind of had that same frame of showing the adventure and, the travel and all the different set and settings and what you can do different depending on the wave and the beach and all that stuff. Same thing with snowmobiles. If you're just hill climbing and trying to high mark, or if you're in the trees trying to do boondocking and crazy stuff, like it really showed all the differences. And that's where I took a lot of inspiration for the hunt films.
Yeah.
Is showing people, because, I guess mathematically 80% of people or more are not going to know what hunting ever is or what happens.
Yeah.
So it's a way to show it in the right light.
Yeah.
It's a way to, because hunting, everyone seems to know someone who hunts, right?
Yeah.
But the down south hunter is very different from the Florida Panhandle hunter, very different from the mountain Idaho hunter. So it's just a way of showing, like, hey, this is what hunting is. This is the adventure side of it.
Well, that word that you just said, adventure, so the name of my business is Burandt's Backcountry Adventure. And it's because to that same effect of, that's what's so crazy about, what you can do on a snowmobile, or like when people say hunting, this is what sucks, right? They think of some dude in a tree stand in Minnesota shooting a whitetail with a gun, right?
And screaming his head off. We just dumped him, blood everywhere.
Yeah.
Those old school.
That's Brady's Minnesota. I'm like, we just described Brady's from Minnesota.
It's that old school. It's not the
Stand.
right light.
Yeah.
Because, and we as hunters obviously know like what that guy went through to kill that deer.
100%.
And we know, we can understand what it is, but most people watching that are like, oh, he's a bloodthirsty redneck. Like, it just doesn't show it in the right light.
And no different in the snowmobile. Like when you say, like when I tell someone, oh, I take people out snowmobiling, they think I'm on a 2-up machine with bubble helmets, like cruising up the trail.
Tracks,
right?
Yeah.
And so that's what's so awesome about, seeing how our industry from a hunting side of things and snowmobile side of things has completely changed into this adventure.
Yeah.
Like it is truly an adventure. When you're out in the backcountry, 3, 4, 5 days with your house on your back, chasing bulls or bucks or whatever. I mean, if that doesn't define the word adventure, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
No different than me literally like going and getting lost and seriously asking myself, I'm like, dude, I don't know if anyone ever in the history of this world has been sitting right here on a snowmobile before. And I love, when I was going down to South America, I could promise and guarantee that I could say that with 100% confidence.
Well, you're probably the only one that could actually make it.
I know, but that was really cool. It was still cool to say.
Yeah, for sure. But I think hunting and snowmobiling has progressed like kind of equally, honestly, just because I've kind of grown up in both the worlds. But the way snowmobiles have changed with Arctic Cat and M Series, and then you switching over to Polaris and doing that, they've completely like reshaped the game even from the M Series, a whole nother step. And then hunting, if you look at the gear and the archery stuff, where that's gone.
Well, and the lifestyle.
The lifestyle.
Yeah, people
Backpacks,
running,
clothing.
training.
I mean, how many people are backcountry hunting now, where back in the day it was probably
a lot more than there used to be.
It's progressed where people want the adventure now.
Yeah.
And not just the
entire experience.
Yeah. And snowmobiling is seeming to have followed
and
the
you're
same.
right. I mean, and I think that's why I love hunting so much, is because of it parallels. You just said like the equipment and the gear and the, everything about it. I mean, rewind 20 years to when I've, first read Cameron Haynes' Backcountry Bowhunting book and thinking about, I'm like, dude, this sounds insanely awesome.
Were you hunting at the time, or did you pick that up just on a whim? How'd that work?
Okay. Love my dad, but his definition of hunting was getting the hell out of the city so he could go take a nap up on the mountain with his rifle. I mean, he's that picture that was
the deer's walking by while he's sleeping.
That's my dad, right? And that was like, so my early years of going hunting, I hated it. It was terrible. I mean, I'm like this string being skinny kid wearing 18 layers so I didn't freeze my butt off because we were just sitting there. Hunting with my grandfather was a different deal. He was like, he was a military man, this like sniper in the woods, he was successful, and like I'm like, now that's cool.
I want to do that.
Yeah. But then, getting exposed to the backcountry hunting, and seriously, like I've read 3 books in my life. I think Gary Paulson, Tracker, Hatchet, and then Cameron's book, right? After reading that book, I was like, all right, what's this bow hunting all about? And it changed me forever. I love seeing Cam's influence on everything. Yeah. You guys have got to do a couple things with Cam this year, and your sit down with him was just awesome. And he, like, his road to where he is now is not much different than mine on a snowmobile. You guys, as you've come up to where you are, it's pretty neat. And I got to meet Cam quite a few years ago. He was doing some seminar at the Bass Pro in Denver, and it was funny. Like some people ask me, who do you look up to in your industry? And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't have anyone, but if you ask who I look up to in the hunting world, I mean, Cameron's awesome.
Yeah,
like
he's
a beast, and just his mentality. I mean, we can all relate. And I mean, I've used like nobody cares, work harder. I mean, if you just live with that day to day, life is pretty damn awesome, right?
I completely agree. Instead of trying to sell people on what you've done, dude, they don't care.
No one cares.
Just keep going.
Just keep going. Yeah. And so I got to meet Cam, and it was at a time, like, it was quite many years ago, so I wasn't too far off of like being at X Games, and so we could like have pretty cool and relatable conversations, right? He's wanting to know about what was it like doing backflips, and I'm like, dude, what's it like being 18 miles back with so those were fun conversations. And at that time it was like it was crazy. We're on Facebook and like trying to figure out social media, and me messaging him and him answering back. It's like that's how you communicate it. So it's so neat to like see the parallel of it all.
Yeah. Well, he legitimately made something happen for himself too back then. I mean, there was really no way to like be paid or make
Same
a living
thing,
or
right?
Kind of shifted the paradigm on
Kinda had to
on
make it
bow
for
hunting.
yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like the DIY, go in deep, stay on your back. You know,
And he had to make an industry for himself of getting the story out there.
Yeah.
Which is what you guys were doing with sled necks, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
Did you start bow hunting then?
So sorry. I started hunting when I was about 20, living in Kremlin. And
Great
good
place.
spot.
It's a great
I
place,
know.
especially back then.
yeah. Oh, it was incredible. I'll never forget like my first season. And it might have even been like the first day I ever tried bow hunting. I literally had nothing. I didn't have a bow. I borrowed a bow from a guy. Draw length was about 8 inches longer than what I needed. I could hit the target every now and then, and grabbed a Primo's bugle tube with the blue reed and said, I'm ready.
Yep.
And I'll just never forget. I went up to my grandpa's cabin because I knew, like, from a snowmobiling standpoint, I knew how to get around and where to go, and head up there, and just hearing that first bugle, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then I remember just, sprinting, like running and where's he at, bugle? And sprinting again, and come to find out, I would later know that, like, I was dogging the herd, right? And literally, dude, this big ass 6-point pushes his cows. I'm running in, bugling, not knowing a thing that I'm doing. He spins around after pushing his cows, comes back at me, stop broadside 35 yards, and I totally miss him. I mean, I don't, but I mean, right, like, miss him with a big old grin on my face, like, holy shit, that was unreal. And I mean, and then I'm like, okay, where am I? How do I get back? I mean, when you start chasing elk, you kind of lose. But I knew. I mean, that was another moment. Like, I'm like, okay, this is for me.
Quick little add on there. I got the first bugle my son ever heard. I have on video. It's awesome. I think that's going to be such a good. I might be putting this on him, but I think it's such a good memory for him. His face on film when he hears his first bugle is a cool. I can't
your
wait to
guys'
show him that when
video
he's
with
older.
your son was special.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really cool.
How does your adrenaline rank from that experience, from that bull being 35 yards and missing it, to a hill climb up something like this, or throwing a backflip? Relatable?
Yeah, it 100% is. And I think this is what, like, on the sled side of things, I have done it so much. And this is what I talk to with my clients all the time. I'm here to train you at being comfortable at being uncomfortable, right? And the only way to be comfortable when you're uncomfortable is preparation. And so when, like, it takes a lot at this point of my snowmobile career to, like, get my heart going, because
Really?
and I the only reason I say that is, like, I seriously, and I enjoy it. I mean,
Sure. You're just used to it. And
you're used to it, but at the same time, like, if you break it down, like, okay, yeah, I'm going up this gnarly chute above these cliffs. I can't go left. I got to go right. And if I lose edge and fall down, I'm like, it's not good. But the way I break it down is, like, when I turn and I'm side hilling, I'm like, it's a side hill I've done seriously 4 million times, right? And it's like there's some big consequences below, but when you break it down, it's like it's kind of the same maneuver I've done 1 million times. But that's the beauty of snowmobiling, is that you will never win. You can never, like, there's still lines that I can't get up. There's mountains I can't beat. I still screw up. I get stuck. And that's what's like, I'll never win. I'll never beat it. And so, like, it never gets boring, ever, ever, ever. And so, again, it takes more to get, like, I have to seriously find, like, the absolute hardest, gnarliest line to push, which is great, right? Like, I love putting myself in those situations. What I enjoy about elk hunting is how relatable it is. But I hate that. I don't hate it. I enjoy it. Because you got to embrace the suck, right? I've heard that. Last year I drew an awesome tag I scouted my ass off. I hunted my ass off, and I did everything right except the last part, the most important part. I shot and I missed, which, I mean, I literally replay it in my head every 7 minutes of every day. And
Every 7 minutes.
That's what you were texting me about.
Dude.
You texted me that on Friday. Like,
Dude.
oh, I had that back.
it was
Because that's relatable. That every 7 minutes of every day. Never heard somebody say it that way, but it's true.
Yeah.
and like, it hurt so bad to not, I mean, I had it all done. I did everything right that day.
Yeah.
And the bull came in. Sorry, the bull didn't come in. I got in front of the herd, which is extremely hard to do.
Yes.
Right? It's hard to get in front of the herd because they're playing the wind, right? So you're always chasing, always chasing. So I ended up getting in front. I knew there was this cut they had to come through. The problem is he had like 50 cows and a bunch of satellites with him. And so they're all like, it's happening so slow. You're so focused on the bull and watching the bull, and all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, there's a cow like right there and right here and right here. And the bull is like rutting and bugling and doing his thing, but you're like, I was so nervous because all of the eyes, and you know, I was able to range, and he was broadside, and he didn't know I was there. And, you know, I pulled back, and when I pulled back, I could see eyes on me, and I rushed the shot, and I shot under him, and it was like the worst feeling ever, ever. I mean, like when I screw up a line snowmobiling, big fucking deal, right? Get unstuck, go back down, try to do it again. There was no, like, can you please come back? Can I try that shot again? And I was so frustrated because there's so many sacrifices that you have to make to get into that position. And like this part of my life, it's sacrifices of my time with my wife, time with my kids. I mean, I had spent 26 days of like not sleeping in my tent, but like getting up every morning and going to hunt, and then coming back and working during the day, and maybe sneaking a night hunt out, or going out that night so I could sleep up on the mountain to be ready for a morning hunt. But then I know I got to come back and work, right? And then I scouted like almost every morning because I knew if I just got up early, I could be back at 10, scout, and get some work done. I mean, to do that for 2 months and to have it all like happen the way it's supposed to happen, your target bull, like everything, like, and then to F it up, just, oh God.
That's the thing about bow hunting.
I got to take a break. No, I'm just kidding.
That's the thing about bow hunting, is because the opposite side of the coin is just the most euphoric. Like, it's the best feeling in the world because you did everything, and then that moment came together perfectly the way it was supposed to. And you make that shot, and the animal goes down, and you get to live that moment. So it's, you know, yin and yang. So it's the lowest of lows. And I mean, if you bow hunted any time, you've had this happen.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
Inevitably it will happen. Like you will miss an animal that you just have obsessed about and you've worked your ass off. And that moment, it's so dependent on everything going perfectly. Like you can do everything that you want to, that you can do, but the animal also has to do, what you think it's going to do. And when that comes together, it's like this, it's so intense. And when it works well, it's the most euphoric feeling. I was telling Omar was driving back. He was scouting on the weekend, and we were talking deer because he's seen some big deer. And
where were you? I'm just kidding, sorry.
He's seen some good deer, but we were just chit chatting, and basically, I was like, "Is this the buck? That you want to hunt?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think it's a great buck. I'd be really happy with him." And I was telling him, like, for me, in hunting, really in life, to be honest, like this is my very favorite thing is to find an animal. You've gone out, you've done your scouting, you find an animal, and you hunt that animal, and that feeling of actually harvesting that animal the way it's supposed to is the most euphoric feeling.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, and on the flip side, to miss one is earth shattering.
Yeah. Well,
so I relate, I guess.
And so the funny story about that bull is and this was like, I got my whole family involved with this. So instead of going camping in our super nice RV and having a shower, like we're up in a tent because that's where we're scouting, right? And so it's like the whole summer was based around, I burned my 9 points and I want to put some time into this. And so we're staying in the tent, and I'll never, it was July 13th, 16th, somewhere right around there. And we take the whole family, we're staying in the tent, and my wife is helping glass, and so I'm looking over into one basin, and she's like, I found one. I'm like, is he pretty good? She's like, yeah, he's pretty good. And so that response didn't get me up out of my chair to come over. And she's like, hey, you should probably come look at this one. I'm like, all right. And I come down there, and I literally I almost passed out when I saw him. And I have just so much content on my phone, which is so cool now that we can do this.
Sure.
It's such a good thing.
Yeah. So, I have that very first evening where I see this bull, and I don't know how many times I'm like, oh my God, he's big. Oh my God, he's big. And I'm like, you couldn't tell me he was like a giant, And so, from there on, we based everything off of that bull, and we would go up and glass, and she was up there with me on opening day, and we knew where he was, and I blew it. I ended up getting above him instead of below him. I just didn't read the terrain right, and ended up a little bit above him. And in the morning, the wind was going down, and she was able to watch the whole thing.
It's awesome.
Yeah. But then I didn't end up seeing him again until this is crazy. I was actually heading to a snowmobile event, which is in the middle of September, which is terrible.
Yeah, you gotta change that.
Gotta change that. So I'm in Denver. I stopped off at Qdoba, good food fast. Not sponsored by them, but
Not yet.
And I'm in line, and I get this notification. I had some game cameras set up, and I get the notification, and I'm in line, and I'm I almost pass out again, second time passing out. And it's him on a game camera 5 miles away.
Yeah.
5 miles away.
They can move.
Some random camera in the middle of nothing.
That is wild.
And he
Simple.
walks by it, And so, needless to say, I still had to go to the snowmobile event. I couldn't just turn around and go home. But, and then I didn't end up seeing him again. I saw him September 25th.
Oh man.
I saw him September 25th. I was glassing him from a whole nother mountain, and I'm like, that's him. It's got to be him. And so went back home, packed all my crap, went all the way back around to another, and a lot of this was wilderness. So dude, it was, and I love this part about hunting. It's as hard as you want to make it, right? But every single day, every morning I went out, it was, it was 10 to 12 miles of my big pack and tons of elevation, a lot of above tree line. So 11,000 plus. And God, I love that part of it. And this is what will be fun talking with you guys about buck hunting and elk hunting. There's some insanely cool pieces about both, but one thing that I truly enjoy on the elk side is just how much damn work it is. I love trying to get to the elk. I love trying to kill an elk, and then when you do kill an elk, trying to get a bull off of the mountain. I love
the work part's the fun part.
It is a fun part. Yeah.
Do you know why you said that you rushed the shot? You
Yeah.
said you rushed it. I'm curious as to what have you learned from that experience since then that you think you want to apply in the future?
Yeah, and what's frustrating about that is I've done that. So the biggest bulls I've ever seen, and I've had 3 of them, I've missed for that scenario. So this last one just really put me in that perspective of dude, you got to fix this. This is shit, right? I remember I was hunting in between basically Silverthorne and Kremlin, right? Up in that area. And this was a long time ago, but I never got to see this bull like really good, but I knew like he had a good bugle. He had a bunch of cows with him, and he was in the trees. And then like he finally comes out of the trees, and I see him, and he turns, and his like sixth is about this long, and it hits him in the butt. And I just remember like my heart seriously like blew out of my chest, and like it went from like calm and everything good to like like hearing your body pounding.
It's
right?
so wild to hear somebody that hucks 80.
Yeah.
I know, that's what's so frustrating.
Is the lights of Aspen. Can't see the landing.
100 foot
This is where
back.
his
I'm
heart's
80
exploding.
foot in the air, and you know he hears a bull bugle with 60-inch beams, and his heart is pounded out of his chest.
And you know that
So
was
wild.
one like he started running, chasing a cow, and I cow called instinctively, and then drew back, and like he stopped, and I don't even think I looked at a pin. I mean, I just like flung something, and arrow hit below him or above him and hit a rock, and bull just looks at me and just flips me off, and then he just heads out, you know. And so it's like so from the mental standpoint, like do what you do every single day during practice, right? You like, okay, I draw, I focus on the target, I get my anchor point, and I release, right? Like that can't change. You have to just, and so that's what was so frustrating. Like it was a 40, so you know the bull I missed, it was 45 yards. Like my table that I walk out of my shop and I set is at 50 yards. I've shot 50 or 45 thousands of times over last summer, right? And it didn't matter. I mean, I picked I split the wrong pins. I did something stupid, right? And so, you know, I like from a mental standpoint, I need to lock onto the target, ensure everything feels the way it should feel, and then like succeed.
Yeah. This is why I love listening to PGA golfers on their putting system, because you listen to them talk about like, you know, having to make a $3 million putt to win the U.S. Open. And what it comes down to for them is just that process where it helps them get out of the mindset of this is a $3 million putt to win the U.S. Open by going through their process. Okay, take 4 steps back, touch the ball twice. Like it gets them in an opposite mindset, so they kind of lose that noise of what the reality is of like what could possibly happen. And that's what I've found with hunting is that process of like drawing back, finding my anchor point, counting each one of my pins. So 20, 30, 40. I always like go through my pins to make sure I have the right one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not to say I do it good every time or do the full process every time. I definitely did it on my stone sheep in October and got lucky enough and hit them. But it's that process that like, man, when you're in that moment to calm your mind down and be like, okay, got to draw.
I was just
got to
talking-
count my pins. Got to look at my bubble. It's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah. I just had this conversation with Omar yesterday as he was driving back. Same, talking the same thing, because a mule deer, and you've got a mule deer tag this year. We were talking earlier, but they're even more switched on than an elk is.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and you get in tight on a buck that's bedded. You're waiting for him to stand up. At least for me, they just have a knack for like getting out of a situation.
Yeah.
Like you can be within range, and they just have this knack.
They have that true sixth sense.
It's this sixth sense, yeah. And I was telling him yesterday, you really, right now, I can guarantee you've got to figure out how to get your mind right and prepare yourself for that moment specifically. You've got to be able to talk yourself through that entire shot process. You have to be very, very deliberate. And Joel Turner, he talks about executing a shot and moving through the motion and have a mantra. Something I've been doing just like the last probably 3 weeks as I've been shooting is just this phrase, I will. So when I'm going into the process, I'm hitting anchor point. I'm shooting. I've been going back and forth between a hinge and a thumb button. I've kind of rested on. I'm a lot more accurate with my thumb button right now. If I execute the shot the way I'm supposed to. So I've just been saying this mantra, I will control this shot. I will execute this shot the way it's supposed to, and just repeating it, I will. It's helped a ton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's that golfer thing.
Yeah,
That's the golfers do the same thing.
Yeah. And you just, and then it's really hard to beat repetition. I mean, I'm sure you shot thousands of arrows.
Yeah.
The repetition puts you into that position. So you find your anchor point naturally. You line your peep. That gets you there, but it's really that last. It's the soccer. I'm a soccer fan. Sorry. Yeah. It's that final third. It's that last finishing move.
On the soccer.
Nobody's on the
table.
Sorry, Omar
I
knows.
played soccer my whole life.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
See?
Oh, okay, I was wrong.
It's that final third. It's those last.
You lost Brady and I.
Yeah, I have known nothing.
You find your anchor point. Everything is lined up the way it's supposed to. It's that final closing third, controlling your mind and your emotions to then being able to slow things down and execute a shot.
Well, and I guess, and that's what even makes a missed opportunity so much more frustrating because, the 12 bulls or how many ever, like I've been successful, which has been so awesome, right? Like, all those, I have that feeling, right? Everything's slowed down. Like everything happened the way it was supposed to. The shot felt so money and the arrow went exactly where I told it to, right? Like how could it be perfect in some and then some you don't even know what the hell pin you were looking at. And so it's getting control of that. And so I'm pretty new to the velvet buck deer hunting. Like I drew my first tag in 20, had an incredible hunt that year. Crazy story. Didn't actually end up getting one, but had a good hunt, had a shot at one. 21, I did get my first velvet buck, which was awesome. And it was one of those ones like, is this real? Is it happening just like this?
Yeah.
And it the buck didn't know I was there. One buck was pinned on me, but he was focused on the other buck. He literally stood up out of his bed. I'm above him, shoes off, and just I'm like, holy shit, he's right there. And I just shot him. And the arrow went through him and the arrow was sitting in his bed.
Yeah. So cool.
And I was like, and the 3 prior busts before that, I thought I had everything perfect, right? It was the stock from above, they're below. God dang, that wind is tricky.
Yeah.
I mean, that one, it's been blowing up for 2 hours and it goes that way just for a second.
And they pick up on it.
Holy cow.
Sound too.
And we, we all, every time you feel that, you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah. You
right?
just feel the hair on the back of your neck. You're like, oh shit.
That's why you need longer hair so you can tell a little bit easier.
That's what
the trick.
Brady's.
Yeah.
That's Brady's trick.
So
it is that feeling. Yeah, that's awesome. It makes me excited.
Yeah. I mean my stone sheep was I honestly couldn't tell you what pen I used.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where I had 2 stocks previous and everything was right. And in my mind, I got ahead of myself. I always try to not let myself get ahead of me. And that's what my mind will do is put myself way into the future of how it's going to go down. So then I have these preconceived thoughts of what's going to happen and it never really does, right? So my mind will kind of spin out a little bit.
You're taking harvest photos?
Not necessarily that far, but
I only say it because I've done it. I've been there. I've been above a buck and been like, oh, this
I'm going to set this buck up like
so
this.
Great.
Yeah.
Look at this landscape.
Yeah.
This is going to be incredible.
Mine was more so I am gonna kill a stone with a bow. This is something I really want to do, and it didn't work out. And I thought I had everything. Well, my third stock, the whole time we're stalking, I'm like, there's no chance we're getting on these ramps. There's no chance. We're above timberline. The other 2 we had down right on timberline, so we had tons of cover, tons of break in the mountain. We're up on this big plateau now, no tree, not a bush more than 3 inches in sight. Ptarmigan flying everywhere.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no chance we get on these ramps. Well, next thing I know, we're at 100. Next thing we know, we're at 60. Next thing we know, we're at 52, and they're bedded. And it's like, oh, this is right now. So then I draw, laying down, break the skyline. All 8 rams stand up, and the 3 on this side and the 4 on this side split. And my ram's standing right in the middle, perfectly broadside. I can see hoof to top of the horn. I can see his full body surrounded by skylight. Nothing in the way. So I immediately just anchor point release. Couldn't tell you what pin I used. That's when I broke every part of my. I just couldn't believe that it happened. So I was in the wrong mindset the whole time. I just never thought it was going to happen. And luckily, I somehow made a decently good enough shot where I busted out his front shoulders and came out his chest, and yeah, he was dead in like 30 yards, 40 yards.
Wow.
But I couldn't believe it. Then we're sitting there talking. He was, well, where'd you hit him? I'm like, I have no idea. I honestly couldn't tell you where
I blacked out.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you where I helped. I have no
You
idea.
talk to so many people that's their reaction. Like, oh, where'd you hit? Why'd you miss? I don't know. I just blacked out. It's like that situation it's so overwhelming.
That is the one true situation in my mind where I can tell you I fully blacked out.
Yeah.
I can't tell you anything about that shot. Nothing.
I can relate to, I feel like I can focus on if the arrow hit or anything like that, but several times, like what pin did you use? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I ranged him. So like I knew the number, and hopefully your mind takes
Your
over.
subconscious.
And obviously if an elk's on the ground, it
It did.
It worked out. Yeah.
but it's crazy, man. And so like you're like, oh, how does it relate to? I don't end up blacking out in any time snowmobiling.
Oh,
so
I would.
of not
I would.
remembering
Some of
how
the-
something.
I would too.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff I've seen you do, the hill climb stuff, scares the shit out
That
of me.
doesn't scare
Really?
me. The crazy
Dude,
side
when he
hills
goes up
are
the
the scary
side
ones.
when he
hills
goes
are
up a big
awesome,
old
man.
chute and then he's like almost vertical and then just kind of
Here's
hooks
the
it
thing.
over and back down.
Here's the thing with a
Hard
snowmobile.
now.
Going up, very easy. A lot of people could go up, in my opinion. Like going up
You go
is
up,
the easy.
yeah.
Going up is
The going down can get tricky.
really tricky.
Yeah.
And then the side hills, if you lose an edge or if the weight,
Yeah.
if the weight starts going the wrong way, to recover it
That
for
whole
me.
gravity thing,
Yeah.
To
It's-
recover
it's
that weight,
undefeated.
it is wild. That's
Yeah.
where I'm the most scared is
And
on
you toss
like
it all those
massive
trees.
side hills with huge goalies that you're never going to get out of if you do roll down into it. It's like that's where I get nervous. That's
Just-
the one.
Yeah. It's just crazy that something that is seemingly so extreme, and then you relate that back to hunting and you're like, these are,
Oh, the one that has like life-threatening consequences.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's so wild. It's so cool that people, that you've been able to mentally, like, in just repetition, you've done it so much that you just,
So
this
even
is
when you
natural.
like doing those backflips and all that stuff, you still can recall. You never blacked out when you were scared to death. You could recall all the feeling, all the what went wrong.
Man, composure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not. No,
That's
I
crazy.
won't go to.
It's
That
cool.
is wild.
But you put a big old bull or buck in front, stuff goes sideways.
Different story.
Yeah.
That's why it's so addicting.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
You've been out scouting already this summer, it looks like?
Yeah. Yeah. After last year, I've never put that much time into like the scouting side of things. Like when I was up hunting Kremlin, I knew where I was going to go. Right. And so when I drew a unit that I'd never hunted before, to be honest, I was nervous as hell, right? Of learning a new place.
Yeah, you got to break a lot down.
Yeah, a lot. And, I got to give kudos to you guys. I mean, it's so awesome to be laying in bed, shut the brain off a little bit, cruising around on the maps. Like, oh man, this could be pretty good over here. I'm going to go check this out tomorrow. Look at this glassing point. And then I can see all these other 3D, it's incredible. It truly is incredible. And it, without a doubt, led to success of finding animals for sure. And so, like you asked if I had been scouting this year, hunting different species, different terrain. So again, have to get the tools out for homework and all of that. And I really enjoy finding the animals, filming them. It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's really neat. And you're out there. Like, I don't care. Like, get up early, get on my dirt bike, get to the top of something and go sit there and glass as the sun comes up. Damn, dude. There's something surreal about that.
It's my favorite part
nothing
about
better.
hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sun's coming up and you're behind glass. It's my
Yeah.
favorite part about hunting.
Oh, it's beautiful,
Yeah.
and it sucks. Like, you can't post too many pictures because it's incriminating of where you're at, which that whole world, and it sucks. Like, if you're an over the counter unit, it's like one thing, and a draw unit's one. That's a tough one for me because I'm like, I don't really care, but at the same time, a lot of people do. So
Yeah.
you got to be sensitive to that a little bit. And it's the same thing. Like, do I want to give away my honey holes of snowmobiling? Not really, right? I want to be the one to go in there, and I want to be the one to put the tracks in there. So, and I think you guys get beat up a little bit for that, right? Well, everyone can get it. No, they can't, right? It still takes a tremendous amount of work. You gotta and I grew up, as all of us did. I grew up having to understand and know and print out, laminate, topo maps. That was fun, and I'm glad I have that knowledge. I would never go back, dude. Ever. I mean, it's such an asset. It's such a tool. I'm a better hunter for it. I can cover more ground. Like, it gets, and like, I love seeing people out. I truly do. Right. You know what it's going to make me do? It's going to make me go further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we need people in the industry to support the industry. Like, as we all know, and we have the same thing in the snowmobile side of things. There's people that want to shut snowmobiling down for all the wrong reasons. We have all these reintroductions. We have we need help. We need people. And so, I mean, I love everything that you guys do, like, not only from the platform side of things. I love that you're not a mapping company, you're a hunting company. And that, more importantly, and I am trying to do a better job at this. You guys are at the forefront of supporting hunting in general. Like, no different than I need to be a bigger part or face of the snowmobile community to keep snowmobiling going, right? Because people want to shut it down. So I can't thank you guys enough for all of that.
Appreciate that very much. So.
Yeah, public land recreation in general.
It's in general, right?
In
it's
general.
Hunting, snowmobiling, dirt biking.
Yeah.
It's all of it.
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as I'm listening to you talk, you're obviously a guy that loves adventure. Like, it just oozes from you. Like, snowmobiling, hunting, dirt biking. Like, you're a guy that loves the outdoors, and I mean, you appreciate it, and that's awesome. And I agree with you. We need more people. I mean, we need more people out.
Well, and my kids and I were literally sitting at the dinner table talking about this last night, and I was telling them. I thought this was kind of cool so Goggins said something. He said, if you died today and someone wrote a book about you, would you be interested in the book? Would the book be awesome, or would it suck? And that's what I was telling my kids. I'm like, we want to live our lives, right? And, my kids, when I told them, I'm like, if you guys, you're not going to die, don't worry. But if you guys died today, what would your book be like? And they're like, oh, we haven't done much. I'm like, see, that's their perspective. I'm like, Kinley, you've helped pack out 3 bull elk, right?
And she's got her own dirt bike.
She's got her own dirt bike. My son, unfortunately, is down this freestyle path.
Oh boy!
Right?
Oh, no.
which is terrible.
Oh no!
Oh boy!
And he loves it. And I'm like, dude, Stry, you're like insanely good on your dirt bike. You have 3,500 miles on your dirt bike around like a quarter-mile track, right? I mean, you guys live with that word adventure every single day. We love the mountains. We live in the mountains. And like, they were born into it. I wasn't. And so I had to go seek it. And so I think with them being born into it, they're like, they don't realize what they're doing.
They think it's normal.
They think it's normal. And I think like, that's what, I was trying to stress to them is like, it sucks to be normal. It sucks to take the easy way. The hard way is always more rewarding. Like, when daddy's taking you up that hard dirt bike trail, it's not because I don't like you.
Yeah.
It's because when we get to the top and you see what it looks like at the top, you don't even remember all that part. And we do have to go back down it. So just be ready for that. But, it's like we are doers, and we are not the ordinary. And I have somewhat of a risky job, right? I'm out in the backcountry. Avalanches are prevalent every single day I ride. I ride an avalanche terrain, but I, do my best to keep myself and my clients out of danger, right? But at the same time, it could happen. I could walk out here in the 118 degree heat and some dude passes out in his car, hits me, and I'm done. Okay. So my job as a husband and a father is to make sure that if I do leave tomorrow, that my kids and my wife, that they feel like they have what they need from a life standpoint, mindset, to be successful and keep moving forward. Really important for my kids to know that. And I feel like it's been, I think one of the hardest things I've had throughout, it's been cool talking about the history, right? But anytime you try to be the best at something or be great at something, it comes with gigantic sacrifices from a time perspective. Running a business, going hunting, from a time perspective, and I will be the first to admit, I'm way not too proud to admit this, my wife has been unfortunately the burden of me trying to be this elite person as a snowmobiler. And so I look towards the future of what I am doing in life, and that's really a big goal of mine. I owe my wife a lot, like all those times of her being at home with the kids, me traveling, like chasing the dream, and then both then hunting, all of these things, right? And so I wish I would have done a few things different back in the day. For sure. I would, we can't all go back. We can only move forward, for sure. But one thing, so that's one goal. But I think one thing that I've tried to focus on a lot, and I see this, especially like with you, Lorenzo, like you had some pretty crazy things happen early with your son in life. And there's a bond there that, is unexplainable to a lot of people. But like, if I was not here tomorrow, I feel I've done a good job in instilling what I need to in my kids to be good.
Yeah.
And I that's way more rewarding than shooting an elk, doing a cool line on the sled. And if you would ask me before I had kids, would you ever think that? No, right? Like,
of course.
It's
yeah.
So I, that's what's interesting about life, the way you can look at it. And it's easy to, like we talk about the easy way and the hard way. It's easy to focus on not doing that, right? It's easy for me to just be selfish and go scout, and instead of like, there was many times last year with that tag, I wanted to just go stay out in the woods.
Yeah.
But I knew I wanted to come back. I needed to help, like pick up Kinley from school, or help whatever the scenario was, because eventually they're going to be out of the house. And then, and already I'm thinking to myself, oh yeah, that'll be time I can go scout and hunt whenever I want. But then I'm like, wait,
same cloth.
hold on. I kind of owe mama some things too. So I got to make sure that's in the right realm. But so I don't know, man, life is awesome. But it's even better when you take the hard way,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well put.
That was awesome. Brady, any burning questions in your heart?
Nothing burning. I mean, I could go another 2 hours on other things like cool snowmobiling stuff, but no, that was a fun conversation.
Yeah, it was really cool. It's always fun to have a conversation with somebody that makes. Usually when I leave the podcast studio and my mind's spinning a little bit, and you're internally like, processing, and that's an awesome feeling. That's a good sign of a great conversation. So
I agree.
Yeah, I appreciate the time, and it was awesome that you came to Vegas, and super cool. It's always fun to talk to somebody that's passionate and diehard about everything.
About life.
There's certain people like Sam Davis. Did you guys Sam talk to him? I get the same feeling talking to you. There's people that their passion burns so bright it just exudes. It's like leaking out of them, and like you're that guy, real deal. So it was awesome.
Well, I appreciate it, and it's amazing how when you surround yourself with like-minded people, like it didn't really fit in my schedule to come to Las Vegas in the end of July.
Oh, really? Why not?
Fits mine all the time.
But I really wanted to do this. Just like, to be honest, I have no intentions of like trying to like get anything out of this. I just want to, I look up to you guys. I look up to Lorenzo. You know, it's funny. You and I sitting in Clay's house in 2000, like it had to be like,
It was early.
It was early, right?
Early on.
It was seriously you talking about this thing, right? And then
none of it was reality yet.
You were telling me like you had some really cool ideas with like the internet and like just how you were going to build this model through technology side of things. And, you know, this was like early on in my thing too. And I'm thinking of like, dude, he's way smarter than me. How the hell can I do any of this? And so I was really pumped to come here and just like, we haven't seen each other in, I mean, over 10 years, right? Like since your inception of like, of the idea of Go Hunt. Like that's what was really cool. And I just wanted to come and like hang out and talk to you guys and you know, you guys want to talk about snowmobiling and I just wanted to talk about hunting because, you know, I'm a snowmobiler all the time, but
we appreciate you suffering through talking about snowmobiling.
Oh,
that's stuff we don't know.
Yeah,
you know?
that was
like, well, he's talking about that in that room. The whole time I'm thinking in my head is like, holy shit, Chris Burandt's listening to me talk.
I know.
Like, this is wild.
Legitimately so fascinating.
I was telling him like my brothers are freaking out that I'm actually talking to you about snowmobiling. We literally Christmas every year would, you know, get Sled Next DVDs and watch it all.
That was awesome.
I have a screenshot of a conversation I was texting him over the winter, like with the snowmobile and
That's awesome.
900 boost sled or something like that. I was texting him like, look at this crap that they're doing. Like,
well, I mean, we've set ourselves up. We
So
need to
cool.
have a Go Hunt snowmobile trip.
Oh, man.
And then I need to come out and we need to go chase up that.
Yeah,
let's go
agree.
chase
I want to get trail on a snowmobile now.
Oh man, I do want to go. It looks incredible.
It is incredible, and I know a fairly good teacher. So, you know, and I'm telling you, like it takes just a couple little things. You have no bad habits. It'll probably be easier to teach you than you.
Yeah, for sure.
All the bad habits.
I got a lot of bad habits.
Yeah. But you know, once you're in that, like that same type of terrain that we just live for, right? Like it's pretty addicting.
Tell us about your business real quick. Just keep plug it.
Yeah, I mean, I do have like the best job ever. I own a company called Burandt's Backcountry Adventure. It started off as, how do I get paid to go snowmobiling? Well, I think I can teach people how to ride, show them all this crazy cool backcountry terrain that you can access now with a little bit of technique. And so that's how the business started. And then just like anything, try to grow, adapt. Again, I'm not kidding you. That conversation I had with Lorenzo back in 2011, 12, it had to be somewhere right around there about, you know, online business and sales and all that stuff. That has definitely that fueled the fire. So we also have a small online store that, you know, we take a lot of pride in. We don't, just like you guys, we don't sell a ton of junk. We just sell the stuff that makes your experience better, right? I mean, we see so many times, and all of us have seen this, where I'll get a guy who shows up with, you know, he had to buy every widget and gadget, and like he shows up and his snowmobile is worse than stock. Like you literally paid money and it's hurting you. Stop that, right? That's something that we take a lot of pride in. I'm like, hey man, like the snowmobiles are so good, just like a bow, right? Like a bow that's like, you can screw up a bow easier than you could make a bow really good. And so, you know, we take a lot of pride in, we spend a tremendous amount of time on the snow. We know what works, and that's what we want to, you know, steer people towards.
So if somebody wants to come ride with you, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, chrisburandt.com. It's pretty simple. We're in a pretty fortunate place. We have, you know, now we have literally repeats that come.
Yeah, I
they've
bet.
been coming for 6 and 7 years. It's like getting paid to ride with friends. And
That's awesome.
They no longer come just to ride with me. They come because, you know, the food is awesome. The adventure is first class, and they get something out of it. And I think that's the biggest thing. That's what we learned. The early years was, our motto, can you hang, right? Like I was just there to show people like this new style and get them stuck. The return rate wasn't super great.
I can imagine getting stuck, kicking out a sled.
When we actually kind of started to really take a lot of pride and it makes you feel really good when people get something out of something. And your guys' I look at your business model, the rewards program, just everything. It's a privilege that these customers are coming to us, and we should think of it as that they don't owe us anything and they can go buy somewhere else. But, being thankful and appreciative and showing them that is how we believe, I think goes a long way.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Right on. That was awesome.
Clay keeps wanting me to go ride with him, and I'm too nervous.
Oh,
Dude,
really?
just do it.
I want to now.
Man, I
Sounds
don't
like
know.
fun. Sounds like we're
The
going.
shit that they ride is a little different. Than
Is it winter yet?
Sounds like we're going there.
All right.
And when?
Gotta do it.
January, February?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll
see.
We
you.
have see
We'll see you in a few months
that is one of the cool things about snowmobiling. I literally rode Halloween and I put my snowmobile up like June 20th.
Yeah, it's crazy.
archery season, that 4 weeks, that's terrible. I need I want
That's why we're so fanatical about it, though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. But I mean, again, snowmobile season's for like a long time.
It is a long time.
And Nevada has some killer riding.
Yeah. I've never ridden in Nevada, but I do know a lot of people who do.
Yeah.
And they say it's incredible.
It is. It is. But anywhere, and this is the beauty of snowmobiling. You need like a north-facing slope with trees and snow. Like there's a lot of that everywhere.
Yeah.
So it makes it pretty fun.
We didn't hit promo, did we? I'm going to be in trouble. What are we, 3 hours in? 2 hours?
This is a long one.
No,
Sorry,
we're
guys.
good.
No, it's
promo, like you said, point system. You guys can sign up with the promo code podcast. We'll give you $50 back in the Go Hunt Gear Shop. Also, shout out SIG. SIG is a sponsor. So, and I appreciate the conversation.
I did too.
That was awesome.
That was really good.
Yeah.
Really cool. Thank you.
Thank
do
you
you
guys.
use SIG binos?
What?
That's
That's my like. Okay, so we got to go down this hole.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have changed. It was like, so whatever old chassis, the M chassis, right? Those were my Swaros, right? I'm like, oh, this is the best thing ever. Now glass quality is second to none. I mean, my Swaros are awesome for certain things, but like I have 2 pairs of them that just sit there collecting dust.
Different tool.
Yeah.
The Zulu 6s have found more animals, more horns. I'm way more efficient. They're lighter.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll bet those are incredible on a snowmobile. Just throw those on your chest and just go out cruising.
Scouting online.
That's what I tell. They're so efficient.
So efficient.
That's the thing for me. They're so efficient.
Yeah. And like, it proves the point every single time I bring a buddy and we go scouting and he's like, oh, I found a deer. I'm like, oh, how big is it? He's like, I can't really tell. I'm like, here.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh shit, it's a 3 on one side and he's 4 and he's got a sticker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty
Well,
incredible.
Your other ones
Stabilizations.
couldn't tell you that, could it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, on the new ones, it's got like the super stable
Super
mode.
stable. Yeah.
And that's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been like, again, I don't get paid by SIG. I did a SIG event, which exposed me to their product. They brought me in just because I was a snowmobiler and a hunter. I got to do the hunter games.
Yeah. 2 years.
2 years
Right.
ago. Yeah. Which was super fun. Incredible experience. And again, just another group of extraordinary people
Awesome.
to be a part of, right?
Yeah, really good dudes.
And then, those binos have changed hunting forever for me.
I agree.
Yeah.
For sure. And we have them in stock.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, we just got
there
a bunch more pairs.
Just got them in stock.
So get your SIG binos.
Yeah.
Cool.
And for the price too, like
That's the other incredible
the
thing.
price point is, I mean, they're just awesome.
Better price point than snowmobiles.
Yeah.
Snowmobiles are kind of insane.
Yeah. I mean, this game is getting pretty expensive though.
Yeah.
But
it is.
like, I mean, yeah, we'll have to do a podcast with gear breakdown because that's,
Yeah, we will.
that's a fun one too. I mean, I geek out on all that stuff. It's so fun.
Yeah.
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 It's amazing how comfortable you can be in the backcountry and how miserable you can with just like
Some
gear
slight
choices.
tweaks.
slight
Yeah.
tweaks.
Yeah. Well, right on. We'll wrap it up. Thank you again.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
thanks, Chris.
Appreciate you having me.